Hi, and welcome to this very brief introduction of getting started with the RMS Raspberry Pi Meteor System cameras. This is not very technical, so if you're just starting in this, it's literally just to give you a basic overview of how to get started. So the first thing to note is I'm connected remotely to my Pi. You may be connected with a screen directly into the Pi with a keyboard and mouse. You need that to set up to be able to connect to your Wi-Fi if you're using the Wi-Fi connections that most people do. But once you've got it set like that, you have the option, as many of us do, is to access it remotely and run it what we call headless. So we have no keyboard, no mouse, and no screen. Everything is connected via remote software. I'm, in this instance, on a Mac, connected via No Machine. There are other software variants out there to allow you to remote connect in. If you've ever used TeamViewer or AnyDesk or VNC, they're all very similar. If you have a preference, stick with it. So the first thing to note is you're in a desktop environment, very much like Windows and a Mac and so on. It's Linux based. If you've used Linux, you'll be familiar with all this anyway and know a damn sight more than I do. So the first thing to note, top right, where you've got the time and so forth and information about how hard the Pi is working and the temperature, you've got here a connection icon for your Wi-Fi. Now you can see on mine the Wi-Fi I'm connected to is here. Also in range are two 5G Wi-Fi networks. Now 5G Wi-Fi networks are very flaky with the Raspberry Pis. So the advice is try to use the standard 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks to avoid any possible problems. If your system is configured to be using the Ethernet cable for the network, then of course the Wi-Fi side of this isn't relevant. But this is just for the basic systems that most of us are used to. So once you've got the Wi-Fi, you can remote access as I'm doing, and then you can continue on. So the first thing to note is the window in the middle of the screen. And this is RMS First Run. And what this is the program that's actually going to do the capturing at night, do all the clever stuff in the morning, doing all the processing, deciding what is or isn't a potential meteor, send the data to the relevant server, either in Canada or if you're part of the UK Mon and have the UK Mon tools installed, it will also send them to the UK Mon's servers for analysis there also. Fortunately, that's all automatic, so you don't really need to understand exactly what it's doing at the moment. You just need to be aware of that. Now it will do that for as long as that window's open. And when it's finished doing all the processing in the morning, it forces a reboot of the Pi. And when it reboots, it checks for any further updates. And then, as you can see here, it will check for all the processing's done. And then it will tell you how many hours it's going to wait before it's going to record again. Here it's going to wait for 14 hours, 40 minutes, and then record for 7 hours, 0.96 hours. In winter time, of course, that recording time is going to lengthen. 7.96 hours may get up to 10 or 11, I'm not too sure. I haven't had the camera long enough to know that. Fortunately, the system's clever enough to change those times accordingly as dusk and dawn times change throughout the year. So you need to leave this window open. If the window isn't open, your camera won't capture anything. And if it's not capturing anything, you're going to miss the whole night's potential meteors. So leave this window open. If for any reason you accidentally close this window, there is an icon down here on the desktop called RMS First Run. If you double click on that and select Open in Terminal, it will reopen this window, redo all its checks, and then be prepared for capturing through the night. Alternatively, if you're a bit unsure about doing that, hit the Raspberry Pi button, click shutdown and click reboot. And when it reboots, it will do a nice fresh reboot, reload this window and do all the checks again. If you want this window out of the way, you can just minimize it. So you use this little icon here and it minimizes, not down but up, it's actually minimized up here. So you can minimize it out of the way if for some reason you want the desktop. So that's the main thing that you need to leave alone. When it's there ready to go, don't touch it. It'll happily sit there and you can get about doing other things. So the next thing you may want to do is your camera is now connected and it's now working, hopefully, and you want to be able to check the focus before you're actually doing any captures. So you want to be able to view what the camera is seeing. Now try not to do this when it's dark if you're capturing, because your camera is going to be doing two things at once and it may get a little upset, and we don't want cameras being upset. So hopefully mine hasn't kicked in yet. Well, it's telling me it's not kicked in yet. So what you can do is there's an RMS show live stream icon here, and if I open that, it should hopefully put a bit of information up and then show the live stream. Now these cameras are hypersensitive, so in the daytime, as it's still daytime here at the moment, it's seeing nothing because it's just massively overexposed. As it gets dark, you will start seeing trees and the horizon, whatever is there, but at the moment it's just showing a live stream. Now that's handy for you to be able to set the focus on your cameras, because you need the focus to be very good. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be very good. If you've got really fat blobby stars that are almost like little donuts because they're so out of focus, then the system may struggle with it. So you need to spend a bit of time. So if you've got that live stream window open, as you can see there, and hopefully at night you'll see stars, you can just fine tune that focus before you finish the full install of your camera. When you've finished with that, if you just close the window for the live stream, what happens is this: it closes and it immediately reopens. The reason being, this terminal window here is still running the code. So you need to close the terminal window, which will close the live stream window. And you can see this has not started doing anything yet, so I was safe to do that without causing any issues with tonight's capture. So let's assume now that the system has been capturing for some time. I want to see what's the system's found so far tonight, or maybe previously, so yesterday or the day before. Now, you can do this from a Windows, but I'm just showing it directly from the Mac at the moment. On the desktop here, we have a shortcut called CMN Bin Viewer. If we open this and again execute in terminal, a window opens with a nice test screen. What this allows you to do is to look into the data files, or the data folders, and see all the captures. And the captures are divided per day, so each day has its own folder. So you click on File, Open FF folder, and you're given a file manager type thing here. Now the quickest way to get to the files is to click on the desktop icon and into the RMS data. Now if you're just wanting to look at the standard unprocessed data, which tonight will be, you look in the captured files folder and you choose the relevant folder in there. So I'm going to choose last night folder, and we can see it's last night because it finished being modified at 5:32 AM this morning. Click on the folder and click open. And if I've done that correctly, and if the system's going to work, there we go. we've now got a huge list of files in here. They're FITS files, and this is showing the FITS file. You can see it's massively overexposed at the start of the night. So what I will do, I will jump down several pages. You see there's hundreds and hundreds of files. And there we go. We're now at 2254, and you can see the number of stars that we're seeing. And there's Altair just there. You can see the clouds moving by, and you can see various moths and things that appear. So this allows me to see all previous captures, and they could be captures from last night, the night before, whatever that is stored on the Pi at that time, and this evening's captures. If you want to see what your Pi has been up to this evening, you can just go down here, scroll up and down, and see what you can find. And if there's something you like the look of and you, I would like a picture of that very quickly, select the file that you want to save. There's a really nice meteor. So regardless of waiting for all the software to do the processing, I've got a nice picture there and I want to save, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG. You can save it as a bitmap if you like. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. And when I click JPEG, it's telling me here the image is saved, and it's going to be in that same folder, and it's going to be called 4416 FITS Max Pixel, and that's a JPEG. And obviously if it's a JPEG, you can easily share it on social media or wherever you wish to share it. So that's how you see the data, the raw data, as your camera has captured it. And you will see clouds, you will see actually just how much is up in the night sky, satellites and things zipping around all through the night. So there we have viewing your own personal data as live as it happens if you like, or you can go back and view several days. There are a number of important files that are on the Pi that you will need if ever your Raspberry Pi decides to throw a wobbly and destroy or corrupt the micro SD card. It does happen. I'm not going to say that it will never happen. It does happen at times. So if you can have certain files backed up, one of the most important ones is this one. It's linked on the desktop. It's saved elsewhere. This is just a link to it, and it's called the RMS config text. And if you open it up, it's just a text document, and it's got all information about your camera, your location, and various bits telling the software exactly how to handle the output from the camera, and various other bits to do fireball detection and do stacks and so on. A lot more than I know about. I just know it's very important to keep that because that is the data for your camera and your station. You also will have a mask file. This is my mask file, and you can see there in the corner of my images on that particular camera, I've got things in the field of view. So a mask is made, and anything that's black, the camera will ignore those corners. So it's important that we have that. And there's also a few other files, but I won't go into that at the moment. But don't delete any files or any shortcuts from the desktop. They're here to help you, and they're also here to help anyone that may be trying to help you, because they may tell you to, click on this, and if you've deleted it, it makes it 10 times harder. So the icons on the desktop, leave them there. They're there for a reason. In this RMS data folder, that is the shortcut to the files that you were seeing earlier. So you've got the captured files. These are the raw files, so we can see it's from the 3rd of August onwards on my system. The system will automatically delete the oldest data when it needs the space. So if you want to keep your data, you need to set up a copying regime to copy off the data in very regular intervals. What you don't want to do from the captured files, unless you want all of the data, you want to do from the archived files. Now the archived files are all of the data minus what it sees as junk. So this is stuff where the system believes that there's possible meteors. So it's got rid of 99.9% of all the files that were there. So if you're going to back anything up, back up your archived files, because they're the ones that are more scientific and will have, hopefully, meteors in them. So what the system does is it captures files throughout the night. I've said some of this previously, but it captures the data throughout the night, and then in the morning it processes it, and anything it sees that's potentially interesting, it saves it to the archived files, and then it also creates separate files on top of that. It sends the data to the servers so it can go through all of the processing and the triangulation and the matching with other stations as required. If you have the your.pi tools installed, which if you're in the UK and have requested, you'll have been shown how to do it, or the system will have been set for you. When you look inside these archived files, not only do you have a FITS file for each event, but you have a JPEG and an MP4 video file. So if we look at this first one, well, it was a moth, but the system wasn't totally sure, so it saved it. Let's try another one and see if we can find something of note. Well, there's a possible. So the system saved that as a JPEG. It's also saved as an MP4. So you get a nice little video which just zipped past there. I saw it if you didn't. Let's see if we can loop that. And press play again. So here you see there you go, you see it zipping past there. So it does that for each and every possible meteor. Now if we go down to the bottom of there, depending on how you've got it sorted, what it also does is provide you with several other pictures. Some of these are pretty, some of them mean something to people. So it does a total stack. Oh, that's quite a nice picture. So that's a stack of all the possible images overnight. You can see the star trails in the background, and you can see a really lovely one there with several explosions through it. There's a terminal explosion on that one, looking nice, and lots of others. We're in the middle of the Perseids at the moment, so there's some really nice meteors captured there. And what it also does every night is all of the files that it sees, regardless of whether there's a possible meteor or not, it creates a MP4 file. And this MP4 is a time-lapse video from dusk till dawn. So you can see as the night draws in, you can see the stars beginning to appear and various bugs flying around, satellites, planes. I have glow from nearby streetlights on mine, unfortunately, and bits of cloud coming in. So you get this every night. And this is automatic if it's been set up for you. If you're unsure about this, if you ask in the UK Mon groups pages, someone will give you some information about how to do this if your system isn't already set up. So there you go, yeah, really nice thing. Unfortunately, you get addicted to these and you have to watch them every day, because they are quite fascinating to watch. You also get a radiant PNG, so you would if the computer wasn't playing silly beggars. Right, let's go. So there's the stack. There you go, so you can see where the Perseids are coming from. There's a nice bright block there. Tell you how many Perseids and all the different meteors that it's seen. And that's just of that one night. And these are possibles because it's a single station. It's a best guess. Until it ties this data into at least one other station, nothing can be fully confirmed. You've got photometric offsets, you've got peak field sums, you've got another field sums there, no average, you've got thumbnails of all the events, you've got thumbnails of everything. What the heck that was? Some bug having a rest. So yes, you get lots and lots of different pretty pictures, various calibrations. I've no idea what they all mean. If you want to know, ask in the groups. You also get these KML files. Now these KML files can be put into Google Earth or Google Maps, I think Google Earth. And they allow you to show the footprints of your camera on the map. So you get a rough idea of where your camera is going to catch meteors. And that's generally the data that's held each and every night. And that's accessible not only through the Pi like this, but this RMS data folder, and I believe the RMS source, but certainly the RMS data folder, is a Samba share, which means that it should be easily visible on a Windows or home network, and you can access that folder directly without having to log in to the Pi's operating system. So you can set it as a network drive, you can, on a Windows PC, you can map it as a network drive, so it's always available with its own drive letter. Similarly, you can do that with a Mac. So you can literally just go straight in, access the data, and especially as this is JPEGs and MP4 format, you can use it with the standard software. The FITS files, you can install CMN bin viewer on other operating systems. Details are available elsewhere, so you can actually view the FITS files as well. But generally, you're just more often you're interested in the JPEGs and the MP4 files. So that's how you find where the data is. And now it's not wanting to work. There we go. One other thing to mention, the system's now working. You can see this is going up, so I will finish this quite quickly so that we can get out of the Pi so as not to cause it any stress. At the moment it looks like it's coping with what we're doing. But it's doing it's detecting stars and meteors, and unless it detects at least 20 stars, it won't try and capture anything because it needs at least 20 stars to be able to do any triangulations. One last thing, if for any reason the Pi cannot be seen on the network or somebody tells you it's not operating correctly, you need to log in via remote software, as I'm doing here. If it's not on the network, of course you can't do that, so you will need to log in with a keyboard, mouse and screen. So wherever you locate your Pi, you need to have the facility to be able to get a monitor of some sort next to it for any possible debugging, any possible problems you may have. Now, if you log in and your Wi-Fi is not working correctly and you can't get it to start and you need to do a reboot, do not just turn the power off. Do not just pull the power out of the Pi. You're in grave danger then of corrupting the SD card or the micro SD card, or even killing it, and you'd have to get a brand new one and start the whole process of installing again. If you need to reboot, get it so you can see it either remotely or with a monitor attached, and very much like in Windows, hit the Raspberry button, click on the shutdown, and then you get a shutdown, reboot and log off thing. Click on reboot, the system will reboot, do all its normal checks, and hopefully any glitch it had will have gone away. So I think that is all I'm going to talk about at the moment. It was just a brief, it's not quite so brief, but I was hoping it's going to be a brief run through to give you an idea of how the system looks and how to find the data and get a first look at your data. I hope you find that interesting. If there's anything else you wish to know, just join us in the UK Mon groups pages or on UK Mon on Facebook, and we'll be happy to give you further information. Bye for now.